What's up, everybody? I am Johnny Christ, and this is Drinks with Johnny. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, I know you guys are here on YouTube, and that's great. I love you guys that are here, but, you know, if you need somewhere else to go and you don't want to miss this next chat I'm about to have, it's available as a podcast, too. Throw on your headphones, go about your day. You'll have a fucking fantastic time. I've got a great guest on today. We've been in contact a few times through little inner circles and stuff. He's a metalhead, a podcaster, comedian, DJ, father. Did I miss anything, Jim?
That's pretty much it, I think. Yeah.
Jim Florentine, everybody, is on the show. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Where are you at in the world right now?
I'm in Jersey, New Jersey. That's where I live.
Yeah.
Things are slowly starting to open back up. I'm doing some stand-up shows. You can have like 30 people in the room, 30, 40, 25%. So it's better than nothing.
Yeah. No, that's certainly better than nothing. Let's just go right into that then. Like, how's that been for you the last year? I mean, I know, you're a stand-up comedian. That's kind of where you get your breaks. Like, what have you been able to do? I know you're doing Ozzy's Boneyard every Thursday and doing the podcasting. But, I mean, bread and butter, stand-up comedian. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it was tough, man, because I was on the road for like 25 years straight. Not every day, but pretty much, you never get off really tour doing stand-up. You just keep going and going. Unlike a band where they got to take a break, do a new album and all that stuff. So then all of a sudden it just comes to a head. And the first month you're like, you know what, this is good. I just like doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then you're bored out of your mind. Like I always wondered how musicians could go on a tour for like a year, take like 9 months off, and then go record an album for 4 months, and then wait another 6 months to go back on tour. Like I couldn't sit around for 2 years and not do anything. That would drive me nuts, but I had to go through it for the first time.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people have had to come to grips with just being around themselves and not having so much to do. And I think there's a lot of things we can learn from this. Like you said, things are starting to open back up. We're moving on. Everything's going to be just fine for the most part. Sorry for everyone who lost a loved one. I don't mean that in a bad way, but moving on, like everything is going to keep getting back to normal. And I think we can take a little bit of what we learned about ourselves from this last year and a half, whatever it's going to end up being.
It helped me reconnect with my family and friends, and especially my kid. Not that we weren't close, but we spent so much time together.
Yeah.
He's 10 years old, you know what I mean? So it was a really good bonding experience if you got anything out of it.
Yeah,
and just reconnecting, hanging with the family and friends. I live in the hometown pretty much where I grew up. Guys I've known since first grade, we're getting together and stuff. And, I finally had time to do it where I wasn't away.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have the excuse. Every time you get a text from a buddy, like I am at home, you're like, I'm on the road, buddy. I'll see you when I get back. And then you fuck off for a while.
It's like, it's his third wedding he wants me to go to on a Saturday. I'm like, I already been to the first two. You know what I
mean? You don't need to go to the third one.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm on the road. Sorry, man, I got to
just send me the registration. I'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, I'll go. How about I go to your fourth one? I'll skip this one. I'll go to the next one.
You mentioned your son. His name is Luke, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned on your stand-up, I got the house. At that time, he was like 5, I believe, 5 or 7, something 5, like that. Yeah. And at the end of this, there's like a musical number, The Evil Pumpkin, and that's starring Luke. I had a question though: who did the music? Because obviously Luke is singing over the top of it. Do you play guitar and drums, or did you?
No. It was a friend of mine who I went to high school with. My son was taking music lessons since he was 5, 4 actually.
Shit.
So, and this guy that guitar teacher, we'd go in there every Monday, and he would and do music, whether guitar, keyboard, singing, making up lyrics and stuff. At like 5, he's rhyming stuff. It was amazing. So he came up, they both came up. My son's like, no, I want it heavy, like sort of like a Black Sabbath riff.
Yeah. And
my friend would just start jamming. No, heavier, then a little slower. And then he just came up. He had a dream that his friends were getting chased by a pumpkin, and he came up with the lyrics to it.
Did he get into
a story about it?
Did you let your son get into your chocolate shrooms? Because how the fuck did he figure this out at such an early age? Like that's mind boggling to me.
I don't know. Like the guy that was teaching him, he's like, dude, this freaking kid is just unbelievable. Like the rhymes and just the whole story. The pumpkin was chasing me, my friends, through the woods, and I had a dream and stuff like that. I go, yeah. He goes, so evil pumpkin. All right, so come up with a lyric, tell a story.
Yeah. Well, I love my son. He's 4 years old, but he ain't thinking that way yet. Now I'm like looking down at him because he's not as good as Luke.
Well, you know what I did? This is what I did. And, every time we got in the car, he was in the back seat, I put metal on.
Yeah.
So he knows no other music. I start him with some simple stuff, some catchy stuff like AC/DC.
Okay.
He could pick the riffs up, TNT, shit like that, And, and then I progressed to Black Sabbath and Metallica and all these other bands, Slipknot. And, so he got in and he had no choice but to like that music. So he was always listening to lyrics, learning the words to the songs. And, he just started from there. And then he just loved taking the music lessons. He doesn't take them anymore. He's kind of out of it now.
Okay.
I don't want to push it on him too much.
No. You definitely want to let them find music themselves, How did you find music? I mean, you're a big metalhead. You're that metal show famously from, and everyone knows you as a big metalhead comedian, all this stuff. Like, where did you first discover music, metal? What were some of your first records?
It was the same thing with my childhood. I had two older brothers. So they were like 5, 6 years older than me. So we drive around. They were 17. I was 11, 12. And they were just cranking Ted Nugent, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath.
Love it.
I had no choice but to listen to it. I was just cool that I could be out of the house and drive around in the car with my brothers, and they would just crank that stuff. So my dad tried to turn me into like 50s music. When I drive around, my dad would put 50, and I like the 50s stuff. There's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I like that. But then when then all of a sudden Ozzy Osbourne, Alice Cooper, and the parents all hated that music. It was the devil. I'm like, oh, this is what I like, just to rebel.
Yeah.
And then I had no choice but to get into it. I went to my first concert at 12. I saw Sabbath.
Oh, Sabbath was your first concert?
Yeah, I saw AC/DC with Bon Scott as a 12-year-old.
Fuck, I'm so jealous of that.
My parents would let my brothers take me. Like, all right, just be, take care of them. Like, okay. I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to a concert. And Bon Scott before he died, which was fucking insane. I saw Blizzard of Oz, Ozzy with Randy Rhoads 5 times on that tour.
Jesus. That's so cool.
Yeah.
My first concert I was also 12 years old, but it was Metallica on the Load tour. Korn was main support, and that was my first concert ever.
That's a great show. Korn and Metallica.
It was amazing awesome. Here at the why am I drawing a blank? What's the one? Great Western Forum. The Forum.
The LA Forum, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great place to see a show.
Yeah, it's fantastic, especially since they've redone it. Have you been there since they redid it?
No, I haven't been since they redone it. I've seen, who have I seen? I've seen the Foo Fighters there. I saw AC/DC there, the Black Ice tour. Whenever I go to LA, there's always a concert in town.
Yeah.
So I go see them and stuff. But no, and it's just, my kid's still into the metal and stuff, but he's all into sports now. He's 10 years old, so he's hanging out with his friends. But he still knows a good song. He still knows it, and he knows what's bad. Like he hears some, like pop stuff. He's like, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, good.
So all pop stuff is terrible. So that's what like how metal are you? Like are you like only metal? You mentioned 50s, but is there any other genre where everyone?
I like classic rock. I like some classic rock too.
Okay.
I never really liked it, but then as you get older, you kind of you listen to those old like Bob Seger records.
Yeah.
Warren Zevon and shit like that. It's like there's some good stuff. The old Stone stuff. I knew some of it, but when you dig deep, like there was some great shit there too. So I started getting into some more of the classic rock shit too. So, but I just like rock, hard rock. I don't like death metal. I kind of cut it off. Like Slipknot is pretty much the heaviest.
Yeah,
Slipknot, Hatebreed, that kind of stuff. I kind of cut it. I need a little some melody,
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, each their own and everything. As I stated at the beginning, we've been in several inner circles together, but never actually had a chance to chat directly with you. I know Shadows was on that metal show.
Yeah.
Towards the end there, and through those things, like everyone considers Avenged Sevenfold like this metal band, and we love metal, so we'll just kind of take it, but. We're really not a metal band. Like anything, like you met Matt, you've seen us around backstage at like the Revolver Awards and stuff. We're the furthest from a metal band when you actually get to know us. And it's always funny to me. Like, have you had that experience with any other acts, like any other metal guys? And like, when you just talk to them, they're completely not metal. That's just the music that they make.
I don't know. Probably not.
So we're one of
like Ozzy's not a metal guy at all.
Yeah.
Ozzy loves the Beatles. That's his band. He goes, I don't even listen to heavy metal. I don't even know these bands and all that stuff. But no, other than that, no. I mean, I've seen you guys a bunch of times. I think the last couple times there was some kind of cancellation or something. I was going to go see you guys in Pennsylvania or something. Some shit going on. But you guys are fucking great.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
My nephew's a huge fan of the band. So he turned me on to you guys. And that's how I started, getting into VH1's ear and Eddie Trunk's ear. I'm like, Avenged Sevenfold, you got to listen to these guys, man. They're fucking big.
I thank you for that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I started getting it in there. I'm like, these guys, I'm telling you, man, we got to get some new blood. VH1 always wanted us to, it was great. They wanted us to have the old guys in, but we got to get some new blood in too. Because a lot of people that like Sabbath, like you guys too. And I'm like, there's a whole other market out because all these guys got kids and all their kids are into it. My brother, who was son, he got him into Avenged Sevenfold. Then he got me into it, my nephew. So, my brother goes to all the shows too, the younger bands with his kid. So, no, it was great though. But yeah, I think the couple of times you guys are doing something down in Philly for the WMMR, shit like that. But no, every time I've seen you, the crowd, when I saw the crowd, like the kids go fucking nuts when you guys were on stage. I'm like, holy shit. Like it was a whole other world to me. I'm used to seeing like Priest and, Sabbath when they come around and Ozzy. And then I'm like, damn, this is, it reminded me like when I first saw Slipknot, like the craziness.
Yeah. Yeah. We got rabid fan base that we've grown up. I mean, they've grown up with us, which is the really cool thing. And to your point of the younger bands, quote unquote, I feel a little older these days, but, like the younger bands and stuff, like there is that gap. And I was talking to Jamie Josta about that on his podcast a couple of weeks ago. And he was saying like, there's got to be a way to introduce, like there's still metalheads out there like that have, for whatever reason, stopped listening to the new stuff and don't know that the new stuff is actually good, whatever you consider new stuff. And there's got to be a way to introduce the younger kids to the older crowd and the older crowd to the younger kids. There's got to be a way to gap this because it feels like there's like this big gap in between in the metal world right now. Do you have any ideas? Because we could maybe take that to the bank.
Well, I think that the problem is the young kids need to get back into metal.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are going to fuel it. You have your little minor percentage that do and you guys could sell a lot of tickets, but you need the more mainstream.
Metal hasn't been mainstream in so long. It's kind of crazy.
No, I know. So you really need to it needs to come back around again where 20-year-olds, 17-year-olds think it's cool.
Yeah.
And it's not just, rap and hip hop and all that shit, in the charts and stuff. And all of a sudden some bands got a breakthrough. I thought that was going to be Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, they were kicking hot, man.
I mean, they're still, they sell out. They're not doing arenas, but they do like 6,000-7,000 seats. They sell out. But I thought that would maybe bridge and bring the young crowd in, but not so necessarily. It's
maybe the sales were just kind of taken out of that with the pandemic. I mean, they were in the thick of it, like right when that shit went down. Maybe that kind of took a little wind out of the sails, as they say.
I just don't know. Like, with the award shows, there's never any rock bands on there.
No.
You know what I mean? Anything MTV doesn't, even acknowledge rock and stuff like that. So the young kids are just hear this, pop and, friggin' Cardi B and that shit and Drake and like, okay, I guess this is what I like. They don't really have I don't feel they have a passion for music like we did.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of had to go out and find the stuff and now it's just kind of force fed to you now, I guess is the difference. I mean, I had to go out and find the bands that I loved. I have two older brothers as well, so I was introduced to a lot of music, but some of the music I found on my own, I had to literally go down to the record store or whatever, or CD store, whatever it was at the time, throw on the headphones and listen to all the different samples at like Goody Music and shit.
Yeah, there's there's no the music isn't rebellious. Mm-hmm. The music that's coming out. So, that's what we always latched on. Like if your parents hated it or the teachers or the adults hated it, like, okay, good, then I'm going to like it.
Yeah, and I think the times obviously it has a lot to do with the times changing, and the rebellious factor is kind of evident in your stand-up comedy. I'm kind of curious as the landscape of society continues to change and gets more PC. I've seen your stand-up. I know your comedy. It is not PC at all, especially for this day and age. So how do you adjust to that, or do you not, or you just say fuck it? This is what I think is fucking funny.
Yeah, I pretty much just say, fuck it, this is what I think is funny. Like, I know I'm not going to get a Netflix special. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So as long as you put that out, I'm not going to be on Jimmy Fallon doing stand-up. I could do a squeaky clean set if I wanted to. So if you push all that, just go, hey, I'm just going to play to my audience.
Yeah.
It's almost like a punk rock band. I'm just going to build it like that and just go do small theaters and just play to them. It's like, why? I'm not going to try to appeal to everybody because, even back 20 years ago, if you tried to appeal to everybody, you were still going to be like middle of the road. Now, if you try to appeal to anybody, what are you going to say? You can't say anything. So
you literally can't say anything at this point. I think I picked the wrong time to be a podcaster because I'm like having to bite my tongue all the time. It's crazy.
I know. I know. But I'll tell you one thing though, and I've been asking like the last 3 years since it's really started, like this PC shit's completely out of control. I always ask the club owners around the country when I go there. I go, are more people walking out complaining about the comedy shows? They go, no. They go, it's actually less. They go, because people actually do research now. They're not just going to come and go see some comic, which they used to.
Yeah.
So anyone that's super uptight isn't going to be coming to a comedy club anyway. So I thought, so no one's really walking out in droves because you do an edgy joke.
Yeah.
Great.
Did you have a lot of that though prior to? Like, what's like some of the edgier joke? What's like the most edgy joke that you've said and like just watch people walk out? To your point.
Well, I remember I was doing I did a Bill Cosby reference about putting something in someone's drink, and the woman said I was talking about rape on stage. I'm like, all right. I go, something about, I don't know what the joke was, something about Bill Cosby or something like that, and she's complaining to the owner. He was making rape jokes. I'm like, okay, if that's what you're going to get out of it, then
you didn't
but you really, you don't, I don't know. I've had a few people here and there, but you don't really people. I think they know to stay away.
Yeah. Well, that would make sense. I mean, I want to go to a comedy club and expect to, I think that's part of comedy is putting a nice filter over bad shit. Like this is really bad. We can either just sit there and put it in this dark corner, or we can talk about it and maybe put a nice filter over it, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. I think that the crowds have actually gotten better over the last couple of years because they really want to be entertained. They know what they're going in for. They're like, look, I'm so sick of living in this PC world. My job, I got to be careful. I got to be careful if I'm a teacher, I can't post a picture of me in a bikini on the beach with my girlfriends. Teachers get fired over that shit. So
really?
when they come to a comedy club, they're like, good, I just want a couple of drinks and hear some dirty jokes and edgy jokes. It's dark in here. I can't get in trouble and I just need to laugh, which is great for us.
Yeah, no, maybe that's the good thing about all this shit is that there will be a place still for you to go out and enjoy yourself and enjoy somebody else's comedy about it. I bring up the filter though because a part of I Got the House special, which is on Prime Video, by the way. You mentioned you're not on Netflix, but you are on Prime Video because I watched that on Prime
I got a
Video.
couple. I got like two or three up there.
Yeah, which is fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. Before I get into what I was about to say, I have to note there was in the front row there was a Metallica shirt. But then there was right next to it an Avenged Sevenfold shirt in this special that is all there. I thought that was kind of cool.
I know, yeah. They all the metalheads come out and they always sit right in the front. Like I always know when I got three dudes in Iron Maiden shirts, I'm like, okay, this is
this is gonna be a good crowd.
Which is great. They're because they're loyal fans too. If they're loyal about that music, they're gonna be loyal. A fan forever. So yeah. I remember the Avenged Sevenfold shirt in the front. Yeah.
I was watching back at it, in preparation for this chat, and I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. But anyways, on that, you're kind of making light of your divorce a few years ago, and you get into a bunch of these stories, and one of the times you say that like Luke was the one that kind of broke the news. Like I was more curious, like. You may have answered this a few times or whatever, but like I'm more curious after watching that. How do you mean he broke the news to you? Was he like, "Oh, Uncle so and so was over the other day," or what the fuck? What was it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like she's my like I was out to lunch with my girlfriend and her kid and our son, and we had a great time. And I was just a little fishy about it, and I'm like. And I just went to my kid. He was like 4.5 at the time. I'm like, who was at lunch, Dad? And this guy. I'm like, what guy? I don't. Some guy. He was there too. Oh yeah, you met him? Oh yeah, I met him a few times. Yeah, I went to the mall with them. I'm like, oh, kids know, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And they don't have, they don't act like, oh, I'm going to hide this. He didn't know any better, and that's. I just felt something. I said, let me go to him because he was there, and I said he broke the case, which he did.
That's amazing. Now, like as soon as we're done with this chat, I'm going to go talk to my son and be like, "Is there any other men that have been around? Like, what's going on, bro?"
when they say the same thing like 3 times in a row, that means like they're filling in time, like it's a lie, and they're just kind of like when you say it 3 times in a row, who was at that lunch. You get a little suspicious. Like, I didn't ask who was there.
Yeah.
You just volunteering this information.
Wow. So towards the end, though, you did mention that you and your wife are friends now because she's the mother of your child and you need her for that and everything. How is that? I mean, and of course, this is a few years removed from that special. How are things now?
Yeah, everything's good. It's you just you get a little bumps here and there, but it's good. But I know, like, I always knew as a band, like if a guy, someone went through a divorce or something tragic in their life or something like that. That's always a great album to write. The pain in there, whatever you're going through.
Yeah,
so
use it as a muse in a way.
Yeah, I knew. Like, when I was a kid, my older brothers took me to see Richard Pryor live at the Sunset Strip in a movie theater, and I was fascinated how he was saying, like, he burned himself and he almost died. I'm like, holy shit, almost in tears, and then he's making you laugh 30 seconds later.
Fuck, man.
I always remembered that as a kid. I wasn't necessarily want to be a comic at that time, but I just remembered that, and I'm like, I want to do this thing while it's fresh. While it's still, because now if I do the material, it's not going to work because I don't care anymore. I know. It's like, I'm just mailing it in. But there was some passion behind that material.
Yeah.
When I first started doing it, man, was it angry. Like the first, I was working that out, in the clubs. Ooh, it was vicious because it just happened.
How many times did you work through that material before you made that special?
Probably about a year working the material, doing the sets here and there, but it was vicious in the beginning.
Do you think that's? I've talked to a few different comedians about that. I don't know that I've asked this question of them. Do you think that it's therapeutic for you to go through this and work that out into your set? Do you think that helps you out in any way, or do you think it's just this is just I'm going to live my life, so this is what I got to talk about?
No, I think it did. It helped me out just talking about it every night because I was just my friends were sick of me talking about it. Yeah. So it's good I can go on stage and talk about it. And I felt real passion behind it, So, sometimes, when you're playing a song on stage, you guys don't really like playing. You're like, all right, this one, okay. But then you got a new one. You're like, oh, fuck, yeah, I love playing this one live. And look at the crowd reacting to it. It's the same thing with that material that I was doing. But then when I felt like I was moving on from the material, I'm like, I got to record this thing now.
Yeah.
Because if I wait 6 more months, it's just I'm not gonna feel it anymore.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. And I don't even remember half of those jokes. Like I wouldn't even bring them up now because they don't really even make sense anymore.
Yeah. So going back to you mentioned Richard Pryor, and I'm a big fan of Richard Pryor as well. You said that at the time when you were at that drive-in and saw him on Sunset Strip and everything, and it didn't click to you at that time that you wanted to be a comedian. When did it click for you, and what was the inspiration? I mean, you mentioned Richard Pryor. What are some other people? And even that, I know that the community of comedians really kind of help each other out at a certain point. And, you're at the comedy clubs and doing stuff, and everyone's kind of not necessarily helping, but kind of in the community together. Who were some of the mentors early on for you?
Well, Richard Pryor, definitely. And then Rodney Dangerfield. I love the setup punchline, that, the one-liners. Because I saw like David Lee Roth as a kid, just being funny in interviews and just being stupid and stuff like that.
Just being the diamond one.
Exactly. It was like a fucking, he was like such a character, And then I would go see Twisted Sister when I was a kid, and Dee Snider, like in the clubs before they made it big, they would do like 4 sets a night. So he'd be riffing for like 20 minutes on stage, just killing time. And he was really funny. I've seen as like a 15-year-old kid sneaking in. And I'm like, man, I got to get up on stage somehow or do it. I don't want a 9-to-5 job. I started DJing on the radio. I went to college for communications, did some morning shows. And then I started my own DJ business. I was playing rock clubs. And then once I got on a morning show I was like 22 years old doing a local morning show, but it was like shitty, like Journey and Elton John music. I didn't want to play it. I wanted to play metal. And I was getting in trouble.
I just had to say that shitty Elton John music. I'm a big Elton John
fan. At that time.
And Journey.
Yeah, it's just like, I respect the music now, but not as a 20-year-old.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And let me have a shift at night where I could play whatever music I wanted after 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So from 6 to 9, I had a metal show. I could bring my own albums in and play whatever the fuck what I wanted. It was amazing. And then they go, I'm on the mornings, you get a good voice and all this stuff. And then I had to play the regular stuff they play during the day. And I would crack jokes in between. And like, don't make jokes. Just tell the time and the weather and move on. I'm like, well, what am I doing?
That doesn't sound fun.
It doesn't sound fun. And then that's when Kinnison, and I started seeing Kinnison with his band, Sam, and then Dice comes out with the leather jacket on telling the dirty jokes. I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to do.
Oh, that's incredible. Have you shared the stage with Dice or Kinnison or anything like that?
Yeah. I never met Kinnison. You know, he passed away, like 93 or 94 or something like that. But I'm meeting him years later, and I told him why he's the reason I got on stage and all that. And yeah, I wound up opening for him. He was at my wedding. I'm still good friends with him.
Oh, that's
which is
awesome.
great. But when I saw it, still took me like a year to get the balls to get up on stage. Because I still had stage fright, you know what I mean? I wasn't good at public speaking. I was shy. You know, I wrote.
Yeah, I guess it's a little different when you're in a studio by yourself talking into a microphone than when you're like out in front of some people.
You're in a club, a DJ in a club. You're in a booth. Nobody gives a shit. You know, you just play the music. But yeah, but once I went up there once, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was terrible, but I remember getting one laugh. Some guy heckled me or said something. I said something back, and the crowd laughed. And that jolt I felt was amazing.
Well, you just went full Jersey on it, right? I mean, like someone heckles you, you're like, oh, I got this. I'm from Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm used to it. Somebody says, so you walk in a room with a bad shirt on, you're getting a beat down for like 30 minutes. You are.
We trust me. I know. I've toured through. I think Jersey and Philly both, like early on, were some of our favorite and hated shows of all time because we'd get up and we'd be heckled. And we're not all in front of microphones. We're not comedians and everything, so you can't just fire back. But, so there's times when they heckle you, and you just if they hit you really good, you just kind of hang your head and go, "God damn it, that was a good one."
Right. So like in between a song, you can hear people yelling from the crowd.
Exactly. It was always in Jersey and Philly. Jersey and Philly got us good every fucking time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I, growing up there, so I came back with whatever it was, and that's what I knew. I'm like, this is what I want to do.
That's what you wanted to do. That was the rush that you got. But from DJing, and being a comedian rather, I remember seeing you on Howard Stern, and I say see you because on the E channel that's huge now. I had it on basic cable years ago when I was like 12 years old, and late night. It was actually, a show of Howard Stern on, and you'd come on there every once in a while. How did that whole thing meet? And are you still friends with Howard these days? Like, what's going on?
That was the break I needed. I was probably doing comedy 8 years, just doing clubs here and there, trying to make a name for myself. Nothing really going on, and then I got a big break to go on there. I put a prank call CD out of like messing with telemarketers. And I gave it to Gary, the producer at the show, and he goes, "All right, if it's funny, he'll play it." I'm like, "Yeah, right, okay, he ain't gonna play it." And the next day, he started playing the calls on the air. He's like, "Who is this guy? We got to have him in, man. He's funny." And then, like 3 months later, I'm sitting in on the show, and then I become a regular and start, selling out clubs. Yeah. Before I was, drawing nobody, basically, just struggling as the feature act, and then all of a sudden, he's giving me plugs, and I'm playing wherever. He was so big at the time; there was like 20 million people listening to him. And he took a liking to me, so it was amazing.
No, I'm sure that was like, that's
and I was a huge fan just growing up listening to him. I was working construction sites. We'd have the radio on, and I tell everybody on the site, you cannot put any power saws on while he's on the air. Wait till the commercial. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to miss any of the show. So just to be in there, like, because it was so crazy. I mean, at 12, watching that on E, you were like, this is like soft porn, right?
Oh, it totally was. Like, there was times where literal porn stars would come on. I didn't know who they were at the time. I mean, this is before the internet porn is as big as it is now. Let's put it that way. Like, I mean, I had to like sit there and watch something download for an entire day for 5 minutes of porn. Like, this was like not
but just like a regular girl coming in, taking her top off.
Yeah, and I had no idea who it was, and like then you find out later it's Jenna Jameson. I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. I know, it's crazy. I was in the studio one time when Jenna Jameson rode the Sibian.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, remember they had that machine, the Sibian?
Yeah.
I was in studio. It was like 2 weeks into the series.
So in your stand-up, you mentioned that you kept your dick in your pants the entire time you were wed. Were you married at this time when Jenna Jameson came in?
No, I had a girlfriend, but no, she wanted nothing to do with me.
No,
I was fucking, I wish it would have been great.
Yeah. And how close in proximity to this ride were you?
20 feet.
Nice.
And I was standing too because I wanted to get a good view. It was unbelievable. We were all just like creeps, standing up like, oh my God, just watching her.
It's so funny because watching back some of that stuff or listening back to some of that stuff, you could hear you as a regular and some of the other regulars when that shit goes down. Everyone's losing their mind. And Howard just has a way of keeping his cool about it. And I was wondering, Does he freak out like after he hits stop, or is he just like he's like
No, he's
unfazed
just
by it?
kind of like, hey man, this is great. He's just playing to the audience. He's like,
Yeah.
that was great. I know those dudes drive around in their cars, and this is going to be great on the E show on TV. It's a great visual, you know. So yeah, he wasn't like that at all. Like just real quiet off the air, and just go, yeah, that was a good segment, you know.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the true professional. I mean, now with this Sirius XM, I mean, he's got 2 channels now, I believe, is 100 and 101.
Long time, yeah.
Yeah. And you're on Ozzy's Boneyard, and every Thursday. So I had to ask a question. You go back and you know, in this week of history, this album came out. You do a lot of that. So I got to ask you, I mean, we're recording, it won't be out for a little while, but we're recording on Friday, the 5th of March. Off the top of your head, what album came out this week?
Master of Puppets came out this week.
Did it?
March 3rd, 1986.
Well, that's a fucking great one. That's a great one to throw out of the hat right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that one came out, and the ones I was playing, I think they came out last week, was Motorhead 1916.
Nice.
Alice Cooper, $1 Billion Babies. Judas Priest, Point of Entry.
That record was always funny. Like, you know, a lot of the metalheads and everybody like talks about that record. It's a great record, but the cover before he outed himself, there's the cover of this Point of Entry record, and you know, hindsight, I look at it and go, "Duh." Like the cover of that record and the title of it, Point of Entry.
Yeah, there was actually 2 covers. There was a European cover, which was different than the American one with the
was there? Okay.
Yeah, there was 2, but yeah. No, there was a lot of stuff looking back. Halford, you know, Eat Me Alive and stuff like that. Yeah.
I fucking love that. I just love that. Like, I love the hindsight because, like, at the time, I mean, especially early on, like a lot of people in the metal community were so anti-gay and everything like that. It's just like, you look back at it, you're like, some of your heroes, buddy, you know, like just let it go.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll tell you, man, well, you know, when Halford came out, everyone, you know, like the whole general public, all the metalheads are going to hate him because he's gay now, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Not one person that I know that's a metalhead cared.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't part of that generation. I mean, no one cares now, but like I wasn't.
Yeah, nobody, the old metalheads didn't care.
Good.
Now, one
I'm glad to hear that.
I want to see Halford. They didn't care.
Yeah.
And I knew that about like, all right, that's fine.
Still a great singer. It doesn't change that shit.
It's a great dude too.
Yeah.
And I was on Eddie Trunk's show, on his radio show, when my wife at the time was pregnant with my son, and Halford was the guest, and he rubbed the belly. He goes, "This kid's gonna be a metal baby." He rubbed their belly. My son
and then Evil Pumpkin came out, and he was fucking right.
And then Evil Pumpkin at 5.
That's fucking rad, dude. So you've talked to like everybody, like a bunch of fucking. I mean, you guys have had everybody in the sun on that metal show, Ozzy's Boneyard. Who has been a moment that you maybe kind of pinched yourself when you were talking to him, and were like kind of like, oh fuck, like I remember when I went to the store and bought this vinyl, and fucking now I'm sitting here having a conversation with the dude.
There was so many of them. I mean, every season was somebody different. I think like. Maybe season 1, we had Angus and Brian Johnson on together.
Oh, that's right.
You know, then we had Steve Harris from Maiden.
Steve's such a good dude. I love that dude.
Phenomenal.
Such a nice guy.
Great guy. You know, we had Bill Ward on from Sabbath, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi. You know, Sabbath's my favorite all-time band. You know, and then we have Tom Morello from Rage. I'm a huge Rage fan. Great dude. You know, just every season was somebody different. You know, I grew up a huge Ted Nugent fan. I don't care what he says. I don't want to listen to people's politics, whether it's Tom Morello and stuff like that. I never cared about that stuff. Like, if the music's good, and just Ted coming on the show and going up there and playing guitar and just being funny and stuff like that was great. So,
yeah,
you know, so it was just every year, every season, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's Paul Rodgers from Bad Company, a legend. You know?
Yeah, fucking. Yeah, I mean, you guys, like I said, you guys have had fucking everybody. And
then Corey Taylor from Slipknot, one of the nicest guys in the business.
Yeah, he's a great dude. Like we've done a lot of tours together. With Stones, we did Stone Sour and Slipknot stuff together. It's actually an ongoing joke because we kind of, for a while there, it'll be different now, but for a while there, we were releasing albums at different times, and we'd have like 80% of the crew was like the same crew that came over. Like when they'd go to write a new record and got off the road, that's when we would be going out, and we'd like have like 80% of the same crew and stuff. It's just,
really?
It's funny. It's pretty funny. It's just like And it took us a while to realize it. We were like, I was talking to the crew members, and they're like, "Oh yeah, when we were out with Slipknot," I was like, "Oh, you were out with Slipknot too? Wait, you were out with Slipknot too? You were out? Oh shit, we just have like the same fucking crew out here." It's pretty wild, man. Speaking on that metal show, though, how many years has it been off the air now?
2015, so we're going on like 6 years now.
Yeah. So and you're no stranger to the podcasting business. You've been doing it for 11 years. You got your podcast. Everybody is awful is out. Is everyone can listen to that right now? It's streaming everywhere. Have you talked to Eddie and the other guys? Is there a possibility? And probably someone else has asked this question, but do you ever think you could do like that metal show as a podcast and just like keep bringing people back on and doing that kind of thing?
We could do it. I mean, Eddie does a bunch of shows. He's got a show on Sirius on Volume, that Volume channel, whatever. He does it Monday through Friday. He's got another show. He's got a ton of stuff going on. What we'd really like to do, if we're going to do it right and bring it back the way we originally did. We had, there was definitely some feelers out there before the coronavirus hit. We had some momentum where people were interested in bringing it back, but then, everything shut down, and who knows what's going to happen when things open back up, but the people are still interested. But there was definitely some talk of it coming back. But we really want to be in a studio pretty much like the same way we did it. Yeah. I don't know if it works in a podcast form. I don't know. I think it works more, and it'll be easy to shoot. It's not going to cost a ton of money either. We just find a studio. We go, come to LA for a couple of weeks. That's where most of the time we came out to LA for like 2 weeks. All the guys live out there, and they're right down the street. So it was easy to book the show and stuff. So.
Well, a lot of the guys and a lot of comedians have started moving to these places that are starting to open up more, like Texas and everything. Have you thought about leaving Jersey so that you can go touring around, or is it? No,
because I could still, Jersey's open a little, and the states around, and Florida's, I'm starting to tour down in Florida, starting in April and stuff. But no, I'm pretty much here. Jersey's where I grew up and stuff, so it's not as bad as LA.
Yeah,
where The clubs have been open 25% since like late August.
Have you been down to the how many? I'm sure you have. How many times have you done the Comedy Store?
When I would come to LA, I'd go up and do it. I probably did it 20 times.
I mean, it seems like it's doing okay now, but there was like a moment where everyone was worried that it was going to shut down here in LA because it was going to be for so long. I mean, do you have fond memories, and like would that? I mean, you're from Jersey, I get it, but like for West Coast comedians, I mean that's a staple, So I mean, did you hear any of this noise that was going on about 6-7 months ago, and how did it make you feel if you did?
What about it closing?
Yeah, the potential. It's going to be fine now, obviously, but like it was.
Well, it had a moment, like I don't know what years it was, probably I might be off a little, like 2007 to like 2011, where it was dead. I remember going to see Dice there when I come to town, and there'd be like 6 people in the crowd. Like he wasn't advertised ahead, but there'd be nobody in the place. It was dead. And it did for a long time. And then Joe Rogan started coming back to the Comedy Store, and the thing came live. And then every time I was out there for the last 5 years, every room was sold out every night, 3 different rooms.
Yeah.
Places in Spain doing 2 shows a night. It was crazy. And then, the coronavirus hit, and it hasn't been open yet since last March.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen. LA seems like it's even further behind than where other people are with opening and stuff. They don't really have the space to do it outside.
Yeah,
they don't
definitely don't.
They've got that little parking lot, so they can't even do outside shows. So I don't know. I'm hoping,
Well, Tony, a good friend of the show, Tony Hinchcliffe, was doing some outdoor shows because he does like a regular stay like every Monday night there.
Yeah.
And he was saying, he was like, the parking lot's open, because he was like, anytime you want to come down. And, when I talked to him, it was like in the thick of stuff. And I was like, I'm not leaving the house, but I appreciate the offer.
But now Tony moved to Austin, so he's doing it there.
Exactly. So
yeah,
that's what begged the question is, like, have you considered that? Because a lot of the comedians are moving to, as I said, Texas, Florida, Mississippi, all these places that just released like a complete no mask clause. So, I mean, and how do you feel about that, by the way? If you don't
I'm lucky that I'm not an act where I could sell 5,000 tickets in a theater. So me playing in front of 40 people, like it's not that bad. Not that I always play in front of 40, but I'm not, it's not killing me. Like, these headline bands that sell 17,000 tickets. Like, I'm sure you played that place, PNC Art Center in Jersey.
Oh, yeah. I know PNC very well.
So I live 20 minutes from there. I go to shows there all the time. My friend said that Megadeth and Lamb of God are playing there this summer, and the cheapest ticket is $200.
Shit.
So, the lawn tickets used to be $10, $15 there. I don't even know if the lawn's open, probably, but he said the cheapest ticket is $200.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of people are talking about when things get back to normal and concerts are being announced for the summer and hopefully they'll go on. But a lot of people don't understand the business side of it where, it's great to put these shows back on and get back on, but there's so much people to pay and there's so many hands in that thing that, economically, someone's got to pay for it. You know what I mean? Like, and these added things that are going to happen naturally, as things start to come back, they're going to be extra costs to the fans. They're going to be extra costs to the bands. It's kind of a big mess, even to get it started as early as this summer. That's why I say with hesitation, maybe it'll happen. Like, but when you get, everyone wants it to happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm dying here. I want to get the fuck back out there. But when you talk about the logistics and the reality of it, there's so many fucking things to consider. And I know that the average fan, no knock on them, don't understand that. And why would they? But it's kind of hard to explain those kind of things.
Right. But think about it, like a band that would sell 17,000 tickets there, if it's at 50% capacity by the summer. Mm-hmm. Right now in New Jersey is 35%. So if it's at 50, that's 8,500 tickets. If they're used to selling 17,000, they got to pay their crew, the trucks, everything else. They got to raise the ticket price because they can only sell half the place.
Absolutely.
Most bands aren't going to come to play in front of 3,000 people when they could have played in front of 17.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't. They see the ticket price and they go, "Oh, that's going straight to the band." In Avenged Sevenfold alone, like we have 3 buses full of crew members that were like, there's a certain level. When you get to a level, it's like you're literally in charge of other people's livelihood. And I don't think a lot of people can, and I don't expect them to understand that. It's not that. It's just like, sometimes I want to say like, it's not like you're giving Johnny Christ fucking $200 in his pocket. There's a lot of shit that goes before that happens,
Yeah, no, I know. I don't know. I did, like as a comic, it's easier for us than a band because we could just show up. It's just one person showing up. All we need is a microphone. We don't have to bring a crew with us. So, it's easier for me to go out and do some dates. Most of the places, Florida's wide open. So, I haven't been down there. I'm doing some dates in April. Mm-hmm. I'm a little hesitant, but I got to get back out there at some time. Hopefully I'll have the vaccine by then. It'll be a little safer. And if I got it, then I'll feel comfortable.
No, well, it's all about, as things start to get back to normal, everyone's comfortability, right? I mean, everyone seems to choose these sides so black and white over the issue. And it's just so silly to me. I'm just like, it's everyone's comfortability. Like if you're comfortable doing something
yeah.
Maybe you're being a little selfish, but that's not for me to say. That's
right. Like I won't do meet and greets or, merchandise after the show. Cause then it's like drunk people yelling in your face, no mask. So it's like, okay, well, I could show up, I could go on stage, do it, and then just go backstage and that's it. So you just know, okay, I could do that stuff.
Yeah.
But then you're on a plane and you sit next to somebody, but it doesn't seem like it's spreading on a plane because I'm sure the media would love to report that 17 people on a Delta flight got coronavirus going to LA. They would love to jump on that. You know what I mean? They would pounce on that in a second.
The biggest travesty of this to me, and this is kind of a joke, but I'll say it anyway. Being on a plane, my tour manager is like, "Hey, do you ever want to be on a plane again if they don't serve alcohol?" And I literally responded, "Fuck no." So there's no way in hell I'm getting on a vessel that's flying that high in the sky without some kind of drink. There's just no fucking
I know
way.
They're not yet. I know United stopped doing it. I think all the airlines did.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, a couple of my buddies that have flown and stuff. They're saying "Oh yeah, you just bring on the little thing and you just drop your mask and shoot it real quick." I'm like, that defeats the purpose to me. I like to have a drink and relax on the plane.
Exactly. You don't want to sit, and the person next to you is going to say he had his mask down because he's drinking a little airplane bottle of booze.
Yeah. I mean, I did that the first time we went to England ever. There was a really sweet French stewardess. We fell in love with her. She was so nice to us. And she literally brought me a bag of those little Jack Daniels things by the end of the flight.
Really?
It was just us. And by the end of it, me and Jimmy, the Rev, were just when we landed, I don't even know how the fuck we got through customs. It was amazing.
Right.
But speaking of booze, though, I got to ask you, what is your favorite drink of choice? Are you a beer, wine, whiskey guy? Any of those things, or maybe you don't like to drink? I don't know.
No, I like to drink. I pick my spots when I drink.
Okay.
Because I know that's why I never lived in New York City, because I knew I'd be an alcoholic.
Manhattan, man, those bars don't close till 4:30 in the morning. I love that.
4:30 in the morning, you get in a cab or a subway. You don't have to get behind a wheel. I knew to live in Jersey, outside New York City, so that I can only have 1 or 2 beers at most, because I had to drive home.
Yeah,
that's how I got my sanity. Even on the road, it's like all about the show for me. So I might pick a night to drink or something like that, but I never went crazy with it. I always liked the nice little buzz, so I could talk to girls. That was always my theory. I need a little buzz on to get some balls to go up to a girl and start talking to her.
Yeah, but and you don't want to like slobber all over either. You don't want to be on the other side. You pick that fine line.
Yeah, and I don't like to get drunk where I just pass out. To me, that's no fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just never
it can
did.
Be. What, you saying you've never done that, though?
No, I have. I've had my stuff, but it's just like, just to wake up the next day feeling like shit. I drank beer, so I went to see this Black Sabbath tribute band last week.
Awesome.
It was the first band I saw since March. And
where was this at? Like what venue?
It was in Jersey. They had like an outdoor patio. It was freezing.
Jesus, yeah, it's got to be fucking cold as shit. I'm in Southern California,
like 40 degrees out, but you just friggin' put on some extra clothes and stuff. But they played, and they were amazing.
Rad.
I mean, but and I drank beer, and I had a friggin' headache the next day. I had like 5 or 6 beers.
What kind of beers were you drinking?
Just I don't know, like Coronas, whatever the fuck they had there. But I drink vodka now. I'll go with vodka.
Yeah. I mean that's the clean one. Vodka sodas. A little bit less of a hangover. I usually stick with that. But then when you're in a bar, they give you like a little cup of it. It's just like at a concert. Yeah,
I can't drink a vodka soda because it's a little plastic cup. Like you get a big Coors Light.
Yeah, you're gonna totally, and you don't want to have to keep going back to the fucking bar and waiting in that line.
You don't want that either. So usually vodka soda I'll do. I was friends with Vinny Paul and Dimebag.
Yeah. I never met Dime. I was good friends with Vinny. I loved.
How fucking great was Vinny?
Vinny's the fucking best, man.
One of the nicest guys in the business. Both of them. Dimebag too.
You got any good Dimebag stories? Then I might have cut you off there. You about to go into
the Crown Royal? The Crown Royal. That guy would fucking try. Oh, yeah. Vinny and Dime loved comedy. They always come to comedy when they had a night off in any town. They'd go to a local comedy club.
Yeah.
So they came to see me in Dallas. This is like the Damage Plan days, after Pantera broke up, and they were out. So that's when I started hanging with them, and I'd go to shows. I went on tour with them for like 5 days. So I'll never forget, we're backstage in like Philly or whatever. And I knew, all right, if you're going to drink with Dimebag, do not have any alcohol whatsoever before you see him, because he's going to give you 10 drinks in an hour, and you got to drink them.
You don't want to like give a little couple of beers, like you need to go talk to someone. You're like, he's going to get you there anyway.
He's going to get. I would be at the stand. I'd be at the buying popcorn, buying sandwiches, just bread, and my stomach just patting my stomach, waiting to drink with Dimebag. Having like 3 pretzels. I'm like, I'm ready. Get as much bread in me as possible to soak that booze up. So we go backstage. They just finished. He goes, here's a shot of Jaeger. Drink it. I drink it. He goes, come on, you got to catch up. Here's another one. He gives me 5 shots of Jaeger within like 2.5 minutes.
I just got like a little shudder right now just thinking about 5 shots of Jaeger.
So and I'm like, I could feel it already. I'm like, I'm gonna puke. Nobody does 5 shots in a row of that shit. So then he goes, all right, here's one more. There's one more shot. I go, you drink this. No, you drink it. You got to catch up. So I'm like, I'm holding the shot. I go, I'm gonna fucking puke. So he starts talking to some record rep or whatever like that, and he's talking to him over there, and I'm like, and I pulled like a high school move. I stuck it behind like a speaker. The full shot. I didn't want to drink. And then he looks over like a minute later. Goes, where's that shot? I go, I drank it. He goes, no, you didn't. I go, yeah, I did.
Oh, he sniffed you out.
Yeah, and I go, I drank it. He goes, where? And he starts looking around the room for the shot. Like a maniac, like the guy's talking about some business, about the next album. He doesn't even give a shit. He's just wondering what I did with that shot. And he finds it behind a speaker. He goes, look at this. You didn't drink it. He calling me out. And I go, And I just go, I didn't want to drink alone. And he didn't even miss a beat. He goes, George Thorogood drinks alone. I go,
oh, one bourbon, one shot, one beer.
Not even one.
One scotch, one beer, sorry.
I did, I go, no, I don't want to drink alone. George Thorogood don't drink alone. I'm like, you're right. And I fucking drank that one. I wound up passing out of my car on the street in Philadelphia, puking. I didn't even come home that night. My girlfriend thought I cheated on her. She's like, you were out all night. You didn't even call. I couldn't drive home.
You're like, even if I had, I wouldn't remember it.
She's like, you're in your third. You can't be doing this anymore. You're sleeping in your car. There's puke all over. You got to go, I know. But I hung out with Dimebag and Vinny.
Yeah. I think anyone who knew anything would know that. Know what that meant.
There was another time, I guess some band was opening for him. I forget, some newer band was going to go on the road with Damage Plan. They were the first band on. Mm-hmm. And they got in town the night before, the first night of the tour. And the singer's like, hey, man, I hear you're legendary drinking. I want to have a drinking contest with you. He goes, I could drink just as much as you. And Dime's like, okay, it's on.
That's a terrible idea.
Within an hour and a half, the guy's puking, and he was gone. He was missing. There was the singer of the band. And Dimebag's looking for him the whole night. They went to a strip club. They come back. He goes, where's that motherfucker? He's going on the bus. He can't find him. He's mad because the guy just disappeared after like an hour and a half. And Dime, had like 7 or 8. He's like, come on, where are you?
Yeah.
He's looking in the parking lot. He finds him in a car next to tour buses, passed out in the front seat, out cold. So Dimebag gets a shot of Jägermeister off the bus, opens the door, opens the guy's mouth, and pours another shot down his.
Of course, that's what you do. I thought we were gonna have a contest, motherfucker. I love those Dime stories. I've heard a few of them. I mean, especially from Vinny. As I said, I never had the pleasure of meeting Dime. Rest in peace. And of course, Vinny, rest in peace now too. But like hanging with Vinny, I think I got a little glimpse of some of that. Like we did a lot of Hell Yeah tours together, and hanging out at his strip club in Dallas, and a few others that when we're just out on the road,
and the barbecues they'd have after, right?
Just such
and the fireworks.
Oh, the fucking fireworks, so good. it like, dude, everything was just a fucking party, man. He was like, you wake up to sober up real quick, and then go fucking play some drums, and then get right back to partying. It was. And also very intelligent. I don't mean to say all that to be like, oh, that's all it was. There was a lot of intelligence behind that head that was, that was all there, and just such a good human being. That
was great because they used to have on their rider on their bus a case of Pedialyte. Yeah. So I remember being on the bus with Dimebag. Everybody drink their Pedialyte before you go to bed. He'd make you drink it in front of you like you were taking medication.
No, it's brilliant. The Rev, before his passing, him and Vinny were becoming real tight, and we had fucking Pedialyte on the rider after that. Like we'd have it like those drawers underneath the couches in the buses and stuff. Those drawers you pull out, full of fucking Pedialyte. Like that's life-changing shit right there.
And then when I saw Vinny, a few years back, he switched to pickle juice. He goes, no, pickle juice is even better.
I wasn't there for that one. I don't remember the pickle juice thing.
Pickle juice is even better than that. It's better. Forget the Pedialyte. Pickle juice is even better. I'm like, okay, pickle juice it is.
Whatever it is, let's go for it.
But it was so much fun. Like after the show, they would kick ass. Hell yeah. Vinny a monster on drums, and then they would have a barbecue out back.
Yep.
Vinny be grilling, they'd be shooting fireworks off and cranking like old Van Halen.
Yeah,
it was amazing. I'm like, this is the best,
dude. So for my life in Avenged and my life touring, there was 2 experiences like that. One was with like Vinny, and then like doing Warp tours with all the punk rock bands. That's how the punk rock world was living, like all the time. And in between there, that we did like some tours with some metal bands and stuff, and it was very different until again. We hung out with Vinny, and hell yeah, it was like, oh my God, there are metalheads that still want to do this kind of fucking fun shit. Like that's, I just want to have fun. Like that's what you strive for. It's what I did when I picked up the bass when I was 12 years old and spent countless hours. Like it was like in my head, like one day I'm just going to be able to have fun with this shit,
Yeah, it's especially, look, you do your hour and a half on stage, whatever it is, but then afterwards, you got to wind down a little. So have a little fun before you go to bed or whatever, because it's grueling, being on the road and being on the tour bus and all that shit. You know what I mean? So any way you can find fun, whatever you can do, is great. And that's, those guys always made it fun after the shows.
Yeah. And as you said, it's part of like a lot of people go, oh, well, how do you not go to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning? Well, fuck, I got off stage at fucking 12. Takes me the energy rush takes a second to go down, you know.
Oh yeah, you got that adrenaline. When I do shows, I don't go to bed till like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
If I
I
don't do
was going to
shows,
ask. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask, like, how is that in the comedy world? Like, when I mean, you're on, right? Like, when you're on stage, and especially, like, you're not necessarily running through the motions with a song or something like that. You're waiting for a heckler. You're speaking. You know, your brain's got to be on fire at this time. So, what's that like? You know, what is your routine afterward? I know we could hear about the routines a million times before. But what's the routine afterward?
the routine is afterwards. You know, you got a huge adrenaline rush. You just can't go home and go to sleep.
Mm.
Like you're still wired from the show, so it takes a while. You know, so it's a big adjustment. You know, when I was off for comedy, you know, for like 4 months or in the beginning of the pandemic, and then finally I started going out and doing some like outdoor shows. It was weird because I couldn't get to bed till like 1:32. I was used to going to bed at 10:30. I never did that in 25 years.
Yeah.
Go to bed at 10:30, get up at 7:30, but that's what I would. And then all of a sudden I'm doing show. Like I'm going to do a show tonight. I'll probably be up till 2 a.m. Last night I didn't do one. I went to bed at 10, you know, like 11.
I know it's a pandemic, and you're saying you're going to be up to like 2. I'll be up too. So if you want to FaceTime me, you need someone to talk to, I'll be there for you, buddy.
You know Sam Tripoli, the comic from L.A.?
I'm not. I've heard the name. I've never met him.
Okay, because he's a Comedy Store regular. He puts those shows on there a lot. He's in town in Jersey.
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm gonna go check him out tonight. You know, and go hang with him. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah. It does take me a while. Look, when you're on stage, for me, I'm almost like Peyton Manning at the line. Like, you know, you're looking at the defense. You're pointing over here. Okay, this joke didn't work. Maybe this shit's too edgy, too early. I got to win them over for a little bit. Let me move this over here. Let me move this section back over here because they might be a little more rowdier. So let me do some rowdy material up front to get them on my side.
Yeah.
So you're always thinking when you're up there, which I love doing because I know I can't mail it in.
You got to be cognizant of everything going on, like you just said, the quarterback in it. Last question there, though. You brought up football, so I'm going to ask you. How you feeling about your Jets this offseason?
No, I'm a Miami fan.
From Jersey, a Miami fan, of course.
Yeah. I told my kid when he was growing up, I said, listen, you can root for any team you want. Okay, I'll go to the games with you. I'll sit and watch the games with you. The only professional sports team you cannot root for is the Jets. Because you're going to have a life of misery and you're going to blame it on me. And I won't sit there and watch Jet games. You're
one of the smart ones, man. You're one of the smart ones. Went to a divisional rivalry and just said, nah, fuck it. I ain't going to do the Jets.
All my friends are like Jets and Met fans, and they're just miserable. They're you know,
for decades.
You pick a better team. So he likes Miami too. When I was a kid, my uncle lived down in Florida. He would send me all this dolphin shit in the mail.
Yeah, he was trying to help you out, man. He was just trying to help you out.
He was, and thank God, because if I would have been a Jet fan, forget it. I would have been miserable. But no, I'm a huge football fan. I love watching the NFL.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad they were able to finish the season. We got a Super Bowl this year.
That was great. I mean, they had little bumps in the road. They had to play a couple. I like the Monday at like 5 o'clock games. Probably, well, it's like 2 o'clock your time. But I love those double headers on Monday. They had a game on Tuesday. I loved it.
No, I mean, we're all sitting at home. You know, like they were doing their best to keep us entertained, and I really appreciate what they were.
Yeah, and I didn't really miss the fans not being in the stadium.
Yeah, a lot of people complain like, oh, they're gonna put like crowd noise in. Like, what the fuck do you think they should do? Do you want to watch it completely like?
It can't be that dry. Some of them the crowd noise is a little too loud. I'm like, who's fucking working that? Yeah. They got to turn it down. I go, it was an incomplete pass. And it's like,
well, that was the DJ in you coming out. You're like, I can mix this better.
I know. The mix was bad. It was like the St. Anger mix. It was bad.
Oh, shit. You had to bring that up.
I'm the only one on TV, I think, ever that defended that album. The shit I took on that metal show. I still think it's a good album.
I loved it.
I love that record, man. It's so underrated.
And the only thing really is that snare drum. I mean, and
you get used to it. You know what I mean? At first year,
after you get used to it, and if you appreciate it for what it is, you kind of go like, all right, I could see why they would do that because they were trying something different. You know, that's the great thing about Metallica and becoming friends with them over the years. Like, they're never afraid, which is what makes them fucking awesome in a lot of ways.
Look, you guys do the same thing with your albums.
Thank you.
You guys do the same. And I like that. You know, I'm a big Black Sabbath fan. You listen to those records. Well, every one is different.
Yeah. You know, you don't. I mean,
Master Reality is a Stone record.
You know, I was thinking about this the other day, though, real quick, Jim. There's certain bands that have been able to keep the same sound or the same formula for decades now and be successful. I look at them and I'm like, damn, I don't know how you did that. Because I think that is almost more incredible than what we do, which is write in the moment and everything like that. Like, of course, we write in the moment, and that's what we want to do. But when you look at someone who has this longevity of doing the same thing over and over and continue to get new fans on top of it, that's something different. That, to me, that is something very unique. Like, there's uniqueness in what we do, but to me, that is like, when you look at it as a career, there's something very unique about that.
Without a doubt, like, 3 bands come to mind to me: AC/DC, Motorhead, and Slayer.
Those are the ones.
Those are the ones. It's amazing. Like, even a new AC/DC record, the one they put out in November, it's great stuff on there.
Dude, when you listen back to, I was listening to it on the golf course. I was golfing. Like, my buddy was like, "Oh, did you hear the new AC/DC record?" I was like, "I didn't even know the fuck it was out." So I played it while I was on the golf course, and I was like, "Shit, man, it's AC/DC. I'm fucking stoked."
You can never go wrong with putting them on.
Yeah, they'll never let you down.
Like, any song could be on any album, pretty much.
Yeah,
you can interchange every song on every album.
In a lot of respects. I mean, I'm sure when they sit down and write, like, it might be a little different to them here and there, but like, just to us listeners, it's very much it's just who they are, and it's just so cool to, like, as a listener, it's just so cool to, like, hear some of the, like, those 3 bands just do it over and over in a new way, but like, it's just their DNA, and that's when no one's faking the funk. Like, it's just their fucking DNA, and that's so rad to see. It's super unique.
I love stuff like that, and I love bands that take chances and put different records out. Like, and the Metallica fans always went crazy. I mean, they were mad at them from Ride the Lightning.
Yeah, dude, they've been mad at them with every album. I don't think there has been an album when they've released that that their fan base hasn't been mad about. Like, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Puppets, because they went to a big label. You know what I mean?
Speaking of Master Puppets, when was the first, going back to like what came out March 3rd in 1986, the Master of Puppets record? Where were you when you first heard that record?
Well, dude, I have a history with Metallica, which is insane. So I grew up in Old Bridge, New Jersey. So that's where Megaforce Records was. That was the label that signed Metallica. Their first 2 records came out. This guy Johnny Z had at a flea market, had a record shop with all imports records. I was 16, 17 at the time. Every Friday night, me and my friends would go down there with our money and buy records. He'd play we just hang out at the store. We had nothing else going on. And he's like, this Metallica No Life to Leather cassette, because the original cassette. He goes,
shit.
He goes, I'm going to manage, this band's going to be huge. I'm bringing them to the East Coast. They're going to do some shows. They're going to record their debut album here. I'm going to sign this band. They're going to be big. And when I remember listening to that cassette, I'm like, damn, this shit is fucking out there. It's fucking heavy. And he brought them to like Old Bridge, our town, and they would play at the skating rink down the street, this little shitty bar. They were just hanging around. I actually took them to the mall one time because they were staying at the guy Johnny Z's house. He just had a baby. And they were drinking all their booze. They go, Lars just drank our fucking champagne that we had from our wedding night that we're saving. He's like, they were like 22 years old or 20, and they were sleeping on their floor. And they go, they just drank our.
Lars just like the fucking best. I love fucking Lars.
Yeah. So they go, can you just get him out of the house? I remember taking him to the mall, walking around. You know what I mean? Just hanging with him. I'm like, all right, I'll babysit him for a while. I've probably seen him 6 or 7 times in these little clubs before even Kill 'Em All was out. As a kid, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I followed their career, and a Master of Puppets, I mean, just a complete masterpiece. That's their,
dude. When that thing hit, it was just like, it was everything. I as you said, like, oh, they sold out. They went to a major label. Like, damn it, dude, they got a fucking great sound, and they made fucking great songs on that. Like, I mean, the Ride the Lightning is a great record too, but the production value from Ride to Master was just such an upgrade. It was just like, oh, you could hear everything now. This is fucking rad. You could hear Cliff going insane. Like, this is what a metal record's supposed to sound like. And that was the staple for so long. Like, to me, like, I don't know if that's how everyone felt in the 80s, but to me, when I heard Master of Puppets, I was like, this is the staple. This is what metal's supposed to sound like.
Absolutely. And, that never got any radio airplay either. The only Metallica didn't get played on the radio until One off the Justice for All record.
Dude, that music video was insane, though. Like, the Johnny Got His Gun, fucking such a great fucking concept.
I know. And they never got played on the radio. They were huge, but no one. And then when one came out, then they started playing them, and then they started playing their old stuff. And then every radio station around the country had mandatory Metallica.
Mandatory Metallica was that was It was everything out here. Like,
every radio station around the country, all of a sudden they could play Master of Puppets, anything off an air, Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All. All of a sudden the Metallica was okay to be played on the radio, but didn't happen until that one video. I remember that.
That's insane. That's insane it took that long, because when you listen to,
and
everyone uses Master of Puppets in their movies now. Like, if there's a moment to play Master of Puppets, like, Master, it'll just show up in
even in old school when it didn't even make sense.
Exactly. I was thinking that one. I'm glad you pointed it out. That's exactly what I was thinking. That was great. Everyone can check out Everybody Is Awful is your podcast. How often are you putting that out now?
I put it Monday and Thursday, 2 podcasts. It's on Barstool Sports, but wherever you get podcasts.
Wherever you get podcasts, Barstool Sports. I got to talk to you aside on that, because I'm congratulations on getting on Barstool Sports. They're doing their thing right now, which is fantastic. Everyone go check out more Jim Florentine. You've heard the name, you know who he is. He's everywhere. He's on Twitter at Mr. Jim Florentine, IG just Jim Florentine, and everything else, podcasting. Catch him all the time on Ozzy's Boneyard. Had such a blast talking to you, man. And I can't wait till we can hang in person and maybe share a beer.
Absolutely, man.
Cheers.